Hi everyone, welcome back to Write Better Together and Mechanics Monday with Peggy and Kennedy, your host, and my lovely co-host Kimberly Dryman.
Hello.
So thank you all for tuning in, and today we're going to be talking about character development. So first things first, you need to have a flaw in your character, because the only person that ever walked on the face of this earth who was perfect was Jesus, and we all have flaws. So it makes your character a lot more relatable and human if he or she has flaws. And yeah, so that's one major thing. And also, one thing that John Myers mentioned to me and suggested to me when he and I were writing our book, You Should Hope Renly, Duval, and Raven Brennan Never Meet, is that he suggested to me that my character that I wrote, Ravenna, should actually have one of my chronic illnesses. And that kind of threw me for a loop at first. I didn't really get it, but I don't know. And part of it, I think, is write what you know, and I do definitely know gastroparesis. And another thing is it makes the character again more human, not this perfect fairy tale princess character like kind of some people tend to kind of want to write, but it's just better to have a more human character your reader will relate more to and makes them want to read more. And it's just good to be able to identify with that character. And like I said, write what you know. So, yeah.
So we can use our experiences and parts of our personality or those that we know to help develop our characters.
Exactly. Thank you. And another thing is to offer traits unique to these certain characters. Like, say, maybe nail biting, or maybe your character is a type A person, always running around doing everything, or maybe he or she sings to himself or herself quietly. So, those are really good things just to make them even more human, to add a little more depth to the character. And yeah. And last week we talked a tiny little bit about knowing your character well before you start and some of the different things that can happen when you don't, like making mistakes, messing up about like eye color or say only child versus brother or sister down the road. You need to kind of know some of those things beforehand or have a list of different things about your character so that you can reference them throughout the story.
And we were
So
talking and brainstorming. One of the ways was,
the bubble chart or
which,
bubble map.
which is a good way to help you with your character development.
Exactly. You can have your character's name in here and all his or her different hobbies or jobs or little secrets, all of that written in and around, and you can go on to
And then more
infinity.
details about each of them out past that keeps up with what you're developing.
Exactly. That can be a huge help. And yeah, no. Another really good thing is to have a mix of good and bad in all of your characters, whether they're the protagonist, the main good character of your story, or the antagonist, the main villain of your story. Because the most compelling characters are ones that are a little, I don't know, a little of both. Maybe they're evil, but they have a little bit something good in them that makes you kind of wonder that little secret side. Or maybe a good character who has, like we mentioned before, flaws or something that, I don't know, some understandable or maybe not understandable reason why they maybe want to kick somebody in the foot or something. But
We all have those villains that we love to hate, they say, and that's a good example what you're talking about. Put that characteristic in there that makes us love them in a way.
exactly. One of my favorite characters is Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean. He is a villain, at least at first, but you can see some little good things about him. He has a pretty good sense of humor, and he has that little monkey by his side. So there are things about him that you just can't help but like, and you feel bad for him because he's cursed and all of that. So yeah,
Makes them someone that we can relate to in ways.
exactly. Can you think of anything, Kimberly Dryman, about like how would you develop your characters?
If I develop my characters, I would really love to have the bubbles, and I would do the character's name, and I would go good and bad, and then I would go out from there, like the good characteristics I want the character to have, as well as the bad characteristics that I'd want them to have, and as well as maybe some good influences and bad influences. So you want to know the history of where these things have come from,
I didn't even think about that.
and keep
Thank
that
you.
true in your story all the way throughout as well.
Yeah, your characters all have a backstory. The story doesn't start at the very first page. They have a past, and just like we all do. And so there's a reason why these villains became who they were, and there's a reason why the good guys or whatever became who they were. So it's kind of good to know some of that information too, and how they came to be who they are now.
So Peggy and Kennedy, give us an example of a issue you had in developing a character.
Ooh, I've had so many. So I was writing one story for one of my undergrad classes about it was a story about my time in the Navy and about this girl who used to love to go up to the weather decks, which is as high as you can go pretty much on the ship unless you're especially qualified to go up a little higher. But I was not, so weather decks. It's a really good place to go out and look out at the ocean or the stars at night. And it's about as alone as you can get on a ship, on a Navy ship. So it was one of my favorite spots when I had the time. And I wrote the story called The Weather Decks, and it was a little tough and partially because I wanted to try and make it clear to other people, like all the Navy lingos and everything. I wanted to make sure that even someone who was not in the military could read this.
Without boring them like a dictionary.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there was that, but then also there were little things like this character had a boyfriend, and I was wanting him to share some stories about his some of his past and all, living on a farm, and like a little chicken chasing him around when he was 5 years old, and I was struggling to come up with little stories like that to make it feel real, like I mentioned, to make it feel like they're real characters and like they do have that past and not just list and just say it and
You want your
show it
readers to
versus tell.
discover it, yes.
Right, I do
Yes.
have a lot of trouble showing versus telling sometimes. It's a tough thing to do. So yeah.
How did you resolve it?
Mm.
Did you get your character developed, or are you still working on her?
I think I got her pretty developed. I think I did come up with some good stories. Oh, again, a lot of it was stuff and was some of the write what you know things. Like I have worked on a farm before, so I just used what I knew about chickens, and those buggers can be mean. So I I mentioned him getting chased around the farm when he was 5 years old, and my character, the girl, she she had some experiences very similar to mine. Some were different. I kind of based them loosely on some people that I knew and just the ship life and experience in general. So that really helped me. So, yeah.
What is the easiest character you've had to develop, and why?
Mm, that's a really good question. I think maybe Atalanta. She's a When I was in the Navy, I actually really like to write to kind of escape from everything around me and to just relax and forget about work after I finished a shift. So I would Google writing prompts, and I found some about mythology, and this one mythological character named Atalanta, she was really interesting to me, and that stuck out, and I just started writing, and the story just flowed really well in my head. I started thinking some what if questions, like what if she and this guy that she loved were trying to break a curse together or something, and the story just kind of flowed itself, and plus I did a little research on her, and so kind of
And it
knowing that
does
would
help to
help.
be very interested in the character's background. Peggy Ann Kennedy is very interested in mythology.
Yes. So definitely I do recommend going with something that you're interested in, and all that does help a lot with your motivation, and if it's especially if you have to do a lot of research, you'll want to really enjoy it, otherwise it'll be a really boring experience.
Or
But
worse than boring, you might be miserable. Might as well have fun.
Exactly. But at the same time, it might be good to branch out some too and do things that you're not experienced with. You might find that you enjoy them too. Like maybe if you're a fiction writer, maybe try some nonfiction. I've certainly done that a lot in school, and I did take a journalism class with Professor Lenz and that, and it's a really eye-opening experience, and it can open doors for you when you're writing fiction as well, or poetry, or whatever you do write.
It
So,
helps you grow as a writer for sure.
exactly.
So last Mechanics Monday, we discussed brainstorming, and part of that was brainstorming characters as well as other aspects of your story. So you brainstorm and brainstorm and brainstorm, get all your ideas for your character, and then you come to this stage where you work on the character development. You're taking away those things, weeding out those things you're not interested in from your brainstorming and pulling out those, and you start to see the picture develop of the character and how you want this person to be.
Right.
And then what do we do next week with Mechanics Monday? Where do we go after character development?
After character development, I'm thinking about doing a little bit of research on some titles and working titles. So we'll be talking about working titles and titles in general.
And I want to encourage you, if you're not a writer, try. I've tried a little bit of writing and enjoy it, but I'm not as talented as Peggy Ann. But now that she's working on this podcast, she's convicted me that I need to work more and try it more. And I'm going to dive right in, and I encourage you to join me. Everyone can write.
Definitely.
There are excuses. We can say, I can't this, I can't that, but yes, you can. Write anyway. Get out there and try and have fun trying and just follow us along in the steps. Start your brainstorming. Pick a subject you're interested in and brainstorm everything you can think of about it. And then start with some characters and brainstorm and begin developing. And we'll write together.
Yes.
And as the podcast is, we can write better together. We can help each other.
And one thing that Professor Lansana said last week that really stuck out to me is that he has a scheduled day in which he writes amidst his otherwise very busy schedule. So I would recommend that maybe schedule a day or a time that you can write, even if it's just 20 minutes or 5 minutes. Like a word a day is a word a day. I mean, it's better than nothing.
Right.
So yeah.
And please comment. We love your comments. Comment what characters you would be interested in developing. Or if you're a writer experienced, tell us how you like to develop characters. Share your stories on your favorite characters you've written.
Yes, definitely. Or characters that were hard for you to write.
Right. Please, we love to read comments.
We do love comments. Thank you very much. So please join us next Mechanics Monday as we talk about titles, and this upcoming Wednesday for our Writers Wednesday. So thank you all very much and have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Bye.